and welcome to this tutorial on pivot tables. Pivot tables, according to me, is the most amazing feature of Microsoft Excel. Whenever I use this feature, my heart is filled with gratitude for developers at Microsoft who gave us this amazing feature. So, what does pivot table actually do? Well, it helps you make sense out of vast amounts of data and generate business intelligence in a matter of seconds. You can cut, dice, and drill down into your data and create stunning charts without typing a single formula. Well, it's almost like magic. So let's just try to see how we can create pivot tables. So here I have a sheet and this has quite a few number of rows. I've downloaded this sheet from somewhere on the internet, but then this is typical sales data. And so if we can just come here and try to see how far the sheet goes. So you can see that it has 8,400 rows and it has columns till U. So quite a lot of sales data right here. So we have customer names, province. I believe this sheet is from Canada, and region, customer segment, product category, product subcategory, and then we have sales data, and so on and so forth. So if we want to make sense out of this sheet, one of the things that we can do is to go and create a pivot table. So you can go and create a pivot table by just simply clicking anywhere in this sheet and then going to insert and then going to pivot table. So what this does for you is that it throws up a dialog box which is basically saying and first showing you that Excel understands your block correctly. So this is the moving ant margin. And so if I can just move up a little bit and go right up, so everything is included from the first row to the last column. And so this appears to be perfectly fine. And then I want my pivot table on a new sheet. So this also appears to be fine. And I'll just simply press OK. So when you do that, a new sheet is created for you. And you have the basic infrastructure to create pivot tables. So in this box right here are all your fields on this particular sheet. So product category, product subcategory. So all the fields that you had in your sheet are available in this particular box. And then you have four boxes, one box for rows, one box for columns, one box for values, and you can bring your fields from here and drop them into one of these boxes. So I'm going to pick up the region field and dump it here. So as you dump, you immediately see a change here in this table, and whatever you have dumped here appears as rows. Next, I can just pick up something and dump it here. So the moment you dump it, 8,400 rows, that data has been summarized and it has summed up sales for every region, just like that. So just wanted to mention that in this particular box, the general idea is to bring in fields that can actually be totaled. So, but you can bring in other fields as well. I'll show that to you a little later on. So we have sales here, and so we can, keep adding to this. And as we keep adding, for example, I can bring in province and dump it here. So as I add a particular field to the set of rows, this table keeps expanding and I can see something entirely new. Whenever I don't want something, I can just simply take it out. Another way of doing this, a simpler way, could actually be to just simply come here and click on this. So Excel has intelligence built in, just going to come and dump it as rows. and then you can come and click on sales. That is going to arrive here, and we get back to the same chart. So if I wanted to see which territories are doing the best from best to worst, I can just right click and go to sort and sort from largest to smallest. So this is how you can see that the Western Territory is doing the best, and Nunavut is the territory that is doing the worst. And everything, all other territories are as per this order shown here. So you can, kind of bring in stuff from here, and as you bring and dump your fields, for example, you can bring province, and then you can also bring product category. So you can see that, if we are looking at West, this is the total sales that has been made in the West. This much is coming from Alberta. This much is coming from British Columbia. And within Alberta, the three lines of business that we have, furniture, office supplies, and technology, are contributing each, to so much. And you can always come here and sort from largest to smallest. So if you look at Alberta, technology is contributing to the maximum business, followed by furniture and followed by office supplies. Now, what we can also do is to just, kind of bring something and say, for example, I can just take the region here and dump it here. So now it's just by um, province and product category. But look what has happened in row 1, that a row for region has been added here. So at this moment it is showing all. So I can just come here and then choose, maybe say for example just West, and so the report is filtered only for the Western region. If I wanted to see more than one, say for example West and Quebec, I can just come here and click on multiple selections and then choose 3 or 4, and this is what I start seeing. So this is a filter for the entire report. What I can also do is to bring something in columns. So if I was to choose order date and dump it here, I can see how orders have been in various years. So for example, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and very interestingly, if I can just come here and click on this plus sign, I can see the sales per quarter. So there are 4 quarters in 2009, and this is how sales has varied in each of these quarters. And then I can just come down here and see for every month. So of the quarter, so January, February, March. So this is actually, it's permitting me to drill down into my data. I can obviously switch this off and go back again to my year view. Now, if I say, for example, did not want quarters or for that matter months, I can just come here and choose group and then just simply choose what I want. So if I just wanted years, I can do just years. If I was interested in just quarters and years, I can do both of them. So if I was just interested in years, I can just come back here, and now there is no drill down for me. Okay, so this is how I can add stuff here. So let me just uh, take this out and show you one more quick thing. So this is the sum of sales for every region. I can come here, go to my pivot table. I have a tool that is contextual to pivot table. When I click here, this tool tab appears. If I click here, it vanishes away. So I'll have to come back here and click on this tool, and I can just come here and create a chart. Interestingly, I can just come here and insert a chart. So whatever is shown here is also drawn here. Okay, and then I can just come here and just select some of these. Say for example, I was just interested in these 2 regions, so I can just see them for West and Yukon. or otherwise I can just simply clear the filters and see for everything. So I can just very quickly create a chart for whatever is being shown here. One other thing that I would like to mention is you can always come here and see recommended pivot tables. So these are some of the answers that have been created by Microsoft Excel, and you may find some of these really useful to kind of find out what kind of data can be harvested from this particular sheet. So these are just some ideas that have been put forth by Excel and recommended. So sometimes these are really very useful to get insights and get some ideas. So I'll just cancel this. One other thing that I just want to mention is, for example, um, I can have two of these inside. So I can just bring in sales and then I can bring it profit. So as you keep bringing in values, the values are also summed. If you happen to, by mistake close this, you can always come to here. That is your pivot table, and you can always come and see field list. So this is using this, you can actually get your um, pivot table field box back again. So let's take another example. I want to analyze from this raw sheet, which is having 8,000 rows from the point of sale, in terms of finding out which products are bringing in money for the company. So I just click on this and the product subcategory lands in the rows box. And then I'm going to bring in profit, or let us just start with sales. I'm going to bring in sales. So these are the products that we are selling. This is the sale for each of those products, and I'm going to right click and sort them from largest to smallest. So if we are just looking at it from this kind of an angle, we find that office machines, the sales for office machines is the most, and the sales for rubber band is the least. So these are the office supplies that we are selling. So this tells us something about the business, what is working, what is not working. And so if I can just come here and just remove the decimal such that we have a better way of comparing these figures. Okay, now the situation changes very dramatically if we bring in another field, and that field is profit. While things may be selling, are they bringing in money? So we will just bring profit as well in another column, and we have an entirely different view of the business. So if I can just come here and sort this from largest to smallest, or let us do smallest to largest. Let's try largest to smallest. So we find that telephones and communication, this list changes, in fact, if you look at it from the profit side. And we find that there are the telephones and communications are making more money than office machines, even though office machines might be having a higher sale. But what's interesting is that we find that four of our products, irrespective of what is being sold, are actually losing money. And if I can just come back here and do another sort, and this sort could actually be from smallest to largest, these items come on top. So pivot tables give us a really, really good idea of summarizing business data and making us understand and get insights into how the business is actually working. I'll show you one more neat trick, and for this I'll just undo everything, that is remove everything from these boxes. So I'm just bringing in region here, and I'm just bringing in sales and putting it inside the value box, so I get a sum of sales for every region. Now look at this carefully. I can also do one interesting thing, is to pick up sales once again and drop it the second time into the value box. So this is sum of sales too. It is the exact same information, but it is now being displayed in two columns. And the reason why I'm doing this is that what I can do here is that I can just simply right click on it and show values as percent of column total or percent of grand total. So I can just come and choose this. And what I'm seeing now is actually I can just come here and change this. And this would be percent total. So this is total sales as a percentage. And using this little trick, you can actually show the same information in two different ways. This is the actual sales figure for this region, and this is the percentage contribution of this sales figure to the total. So obviously we can come here and sort from largest to smallest. And as you can see, the major part of this, the sales is coming from the west region, and the least is coming from the Nunavut region. So this is a really interesting trick you can actually pick up and use a particular field two times and show one in a different format and one in another format. Now, I just want to show you one more thing, and that is if there is a field that is not available here, and say, for example, you wanted to calculate the profit margin, which is not available here. So you can always come to the Pivot Table Analyze tab, come to Fields, and you can calculate a field. So let me just call this profit margin. And what I'm going to do is to just simply pick up fields. So my profit margin is profit divided by sales. And okay. So when I do this, a column is added, and it is showing me my profit margin. I can always go back to calculated field and click on this box and modify my formula if I wanted to, and change this formula, or even go ahead and delete this formula. One of the most important things about calculated fields is that the totals in calculated fields are not correct. And unfortunately, there is no way to get around this problem. So one of the easy solutions is to just right click and go to Pivot Table Options and Totals and Filters, and just don't show the grand totals at all. So this reduces the confusion when you are displaying a calculated field. Okay, so this is profit margin. Right. Just on the topic, if you are choosing pivot table options, what you can also do is you can put in a value for any cells in your sheet that are empty. So you can show them as zeros. And there are some other interesting features to explore here. For example, if you're printing the sheet, then repeat row labels on top of each printed page, which is very, very useful. I've already told you about uh, totals and filters and display. You can sort in a particular order and so on and so forth. But then this is an important thing. And if there is an error, you can type in your own error. So you can just simply say, so wherever there is an error, it will just show you as error. So one more example, I want to do some customer analysis from my sales data, and I want to find out who are my most profitable customers. So I'm just going to pick up customer name and put it in rows, and then I'm going to go and take up profit and put it in values. So I have a list of customers and the amount of profit that they have contributed to the company. Now I wanted to see my top 10 customers, for example. So I can just come here and I can obviously sort from lowest to largest, highest to lowest in terms of, but what I can also do is to filter and see my top 10. So when I do this, it just comes back here and sum of profit, and I'll say okay. So these are my top 10 customers, and I can just sort these guys out on the basis of largest to smallest in terms of sale. So these are my top 10 customers. So I can engage in customer analysis. These numbers don't seem to be aligned. So if I can just remove the decimal points, they will look a little more comparable. So this is how you can engage in customer analysis. Now, let me just show you one more thing. And let's say, for example, I want to see how many total customers do I have in every region. So I'm just going to come here, drop my region, and then I'm going to come and just pick up customer name, and this time around, I'm going to drop it in values. Now, customer name is not something that can actually be summed up because it's just a piece of text. But when I drop it here, pivot table just simply goes ahead and counts. So it creates uh, uh, a list which is basically titled as count of customer name. So on the face of it, it might appear that Atlantic has 1080 customers, but actually this is not true, because if you were to go to your original sheet and just try to navigate to customer name, you will find that there are many repeat entries. So it's quite obvious that the numbers that you are seeing here have actually duplicates. So there is a way by means of which we can actually get information about this this query. How many customers do I have for each of my regions? And I'll just show you how to do that. So unfortunately, there is no straightforward way to find distinct customers in the list that was generated by pivot tables. But there is an add-in that we can actually activate, and we are going to do just that. So if you can just have a look here, there's something going to change on this. A tab will be added here once we do, take a few steps. So file and options, and go to add-ins, and then down below here it says Excel add-ins. We are just going to come here and do com add-ins and then press go. So we will choose com add-ins and then press go. So in this list there is an add-in called as Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. So we are going to check that and press OK. So as we do this, we have a Power Pivot tab that is added, and we can click on this. Now, what we need to do, and this is by no means an introduction to Power Pivot add-in. I'm just, kind of introducing Power Pivot in the limited capacity of answering the question that we had posed, and we will just solve that problem. So we will just click on Manage. And what you need to do first is to connect to an Excel sheet. So it comes back with a screen, and I'm going to choose get external data from other sources, get external data from other sources, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this. It shows me a huge big list. I'm going to scroll right down and choose an Excel file. So I'm going to click on this and press next. Then I'm just going to go and browse and point my file. So this happens to be the office sales file. And this is very important. Use first row as column headers, which of course the first row is column headers in my Excel sheet. So I'm going to just click this and say yes. If I want, I can test the connection, but I am sure that it is working. So we are just simply going ahead and pressing next. So it's coming back, and we're going to pick up the first sheet and then just simply go ahead and finish. So just press finish after checking this. So it comes back and says success, and you can just close this. So it says that this is 8399 rows have actually been transferred, which is the total number of rows that we had in that table. So a successful import. Now once we have done this, we can just come to pivot table and click on pivot table. So it comes back and asks us the same question that was asked by the pivot table inside Microsoft Excel. That is not the Power Pivot add-in. So we are going to say yes, we want this analysis on a new sheet. So I'm just going to say OK. And we get a similar kind of list. And we'll just expand this. We get all our fields. So let us bring up the same question. So I'm going to bring in region. It brings in all my regions. Then I'm going to come and dump my customer name. Remember that when we are putting a text field here, it just ends up counting. And these numbers actually are not the number of unique customers in Atlantic region. So we were trying to answer this particular query. So what we're going to do is just come here and go to value field settings. Value field settings incidentally is also available from here if you wanted to, exact same thing. And then we're just going to scroll down and get distinct count. So this distinct count is not available in the normal pivot table that is available through Microsoft Excel, and you have to do this through Power Pivot. So once you do this and press OK, so for Atlantic it is 2460 and so on and so forth. We can of course come here and sort it. So our largest customer base is in the West, followed by Ontario, and the last one is this. So this is how you can actually use Power Pivot to get answers to a few questions. So this is in a nutshell pivot table. This is a very useful feature in Microsoft Excel, and one can use this to get business intelligence out of sheets which have huge number of rows and columns, and use that information to analyze the business. Thank you.